All
right. The May 6, 2026 City Council meeting is called to order. Is there any declaration of conflict of interest by anyone?
No.
No? All right, now we're gonna move straight to planning commission interviews. We've got Greg, and we've got, I know,
Jessica.
Carl and Jessica. Okay,
And Todd.
and Todd.
Yeah,
Okay, three of you need to get up and leave the room so we can ask a question of one person and get their answer for everything. And then we'll bring someone else in.
okay,
That way you're not piggybacking on each other's answers.
yeah,
Okay? So
start with me. Yeah.
start with you. You
Okay.
will answer first. The rest, would you please? Thank you so much for participating. We haven't figured out how to do it easier, but we will.
Unless they leave the building or Josh puts them in jail over here. It's still a good question.
Maybe they'll go on Zoom, let's, yeah.
Hey, you know what? I'm just doing the best we can in our wonderful little office. All right,
Maybe we could remodel this place and do something about that.
No.
I'm getting there. And it's Todd.
Todd Schultz, yeah, Todd Schultz.
All right, Todd, we've got 5 questions.
Sure.
And what we're gonna do is take a turn, each of us asking it.
Okay.
And I'll start with Preston, you got a list of questions?
They're on.
Number 1?
Can I say to begin?
Yes.
Just, yeah, I've been on the planning commission before, I think it was around 2010 or so when I started, and I was on it probably for 6 or 7 years. 1 or 2 of those years I was the chair or the president of the planning commission. When I first joined, I was on it with Bill Berg, Sarah Nebaker, Paulina, I think you were on when I first joined, and Matt Brown joined shortly after, and then he became mayor, of course, of that. So in that time, we dealt with a lot of complicated stuff and went through a lot of complex issues. Just background to let
Right.
me know that, yeah.
Okay. So. Preston,
So you were with basically the two people that actually wrote the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, Bill Berg was a really good friend of mine, and I talked with him about the comprehensive plan all the time.
Yeah.
So I have a fine-tuned awareness of the comp plan, and I'm a really strong supporter of the comp plan. And I believe in keeping this a residential community primarily and not turning it into a tourist destination.
So I guess the first question is non-applicable.
Well,
okay,
the second question in part 1, do you see any, since, do you see any revisions that need to be made to it now or in the
Well, one thing
future?
about the comp plan that we learned when we were dealing with a lot of stuff is that it's sort of like the mission statement of the city, as I understand it, and it can't be used for it can't be used to justify any development decisions. So if something were to be appealed to LUBA, you can't defend your decision based on the comp plan. So I don't know if that's come up with you all, but that's something that we discovered through different things that I think there was at least one thing that went to LUBA. So what I've always felt is that the comp plan needs to be really operationalized in the zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance has to actualize the comp plan so that everything is kind of, the comp plan just has kind of like an ironclad representation in the zoning ordinance. Because decisions have to be based in zoning ordinance stuff, as I understand it. So I feel like the comp plan is sort of like the philosophy of the city, is the way that I look at it, and kind of like the vision statement. But when it comes to like the nuts and bolts of making development decisions, it seems like that's all about the zoning ordinance.
So question number 2 is, what are your thoughts for now and the near future for Gearhart? And please be as specific as possible and address Gearhart maintaining its residential community feel or for additional commercial and tourist growth and how they pertain to the comprehensive plan. Do you want to cut? That's a long question.
No,
Do you
it's
wanna
fine, no,
go
it's
first?
fine. One thing that has always concerned me, and I think this goes straight to the sort of the heart of the matter of like a tourist destination versus a residential community, is the use of conditional use permits. It seems like those come through every now and then. And I feel like sometimes, I mean, I feel like I saw this myself, like with the McMenamins thing, when they were like asking for a conditional use permit to put like condos up there on top of the bar and stuff. But I feel like with the conditional use permits, sometimes people just sort of make a ballpark decision about those. And they actually, you have to meet 7 criteria to satisfy a conditional use permit, one of which is that there's a land use need for the thing that's being proposed, right? And so I feel like there has to be a kind of steadfast commitment to when these conditional use permits come through, where people are trying to like do something different in the city or add something somewhere, that those criteria need to be really looked at carefully before a conditional use permit is granted. I wouldn't be like completely unreasonable and just say no conditional use permits or whatever, especially if it meets the land use need. And then there are, I think, a handful of other criteria, but those are really important in terms of keeping things the way that I would want them to be in this town.
Thank you.
How do you see your role as a planning commission member in the city government? Describe your understanding of the relationship and interaction between planning commission and city council.
Well, I feel like there should be a close connection between the planning commission and the city council. When I was on the planning commission, we did a lot of joint like workshops, lots of like, I think we went through the zoning ordinance at one point together, and we met together a number of times. You know, obviously the city council is the final word on things, but I think the planning commission has a really important role too, but I would just see it being a collegial, like supportive, congenial relationship between the two entities and working together a lot on, you know, making decisions about where to go with the city.
Sharon?
Are you aware of any present or future conflict of interest you might have as a member of the planning commission? If a situation should arise, would you excuse yourself from voting?
If it's a situation arose, I would excuse myself, but I'm not aware of any conflicts of interest right now.
Okay, do you as a candidate for the planning commission have a question for any of the members of the city council?
I don't think so. Nice to meet you all.
It's nice to meet you.
Thank you, Todd.
Okay, thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
And would you
Have a good
send
night.
someone in, please?
Yeah, are they out in the, are they outside?
They should be just to the left.
Oh,
And Christy's probably hearing this and probably getting ready to shoot somebody in.
that's.
Next week.
Yeah, probably
Oh,
some down the chute.
yeah, I guess they could.
My son
He's probably-
at university.
Oh, right.
Okay. Would you like us to have a seat? Why don't you give us your name and a little background history, and then we'll go start the questions.
Great. My name is Greg Bush. I've been a resident in Gearhart, or I should say, I owned a home in Gearhart for 10 years now. I was career Coast Guard, retired as a Coast Guard commander. I've also worked as a federal law enforcement officer and recently retired as a federal law enforcement officer as well. So I'm fully retired now and enjoying life and looking for opportunities to continue with public service. I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, which I think is helpful for this position. Also have a master's degree in information technology management, but I'm not sure if that's going to be as much, other than I will say that I did like AI and how well it does with answering questions of what is the role of the Gearhart Planning Commission? And it pulled right from the announcement and did a nice little outline that I'm not going to read.
Okay. Preston,
You obviously are familiar with the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
So did you feel that as it's written is still applicable and, or does it need to be changed, and if so, how?
I did another reread the comprehensive plan. I applied for this position a year and a half ago, as well as many of you may realize, and I was going to say, just ditto, can you do that? Pull up the record. But I do think the comprehensive plan is still applicable. It was updated, I believe, in 2022 is the latest date. I think the most important thing that can be done with the plan is really correcting minor formatting issues, as well as updating some of the links that are in there. As I was going through, I was trying to cross-reference some of the Oregon revised statutes, and I found that the numbers have changed. There's different numbers. There's a number of places with just the indenting to be correct. There's missing letters. Just minor formatting would be helpful to make it look like a more professional document. Otherwise, when I go through the plan itself, I think it's still very applicable to why, when we moved here 10 years ago, we fell in love with Gearhart, and we look at this as being our long-term home. It focuses on the residents, maintaining this residential type feel, and it looks at how to control this downtown area. And that's one thing I'll provide some comment about these. I will say the one place where I think that we may be able to take a look at is when you look at the commercial aspects of it. Maintaining a vibrant downtown, or I should say quaint downtown that's successful for businesses, I think is a challenge. And you have C1 down here, and then C2 and C3. And if you look at competition on 101 that draws away from the ability of some of the success of the businesses here, it's something that we have to consider and be aware of. There may be some unintended consequences. And in particular, I'm thinking of the grocery. I'm not sure if Dollar General is, they're serving different types of products, but if you're looking at going in and grabbing something quickly, you're probably going to go to Dollar General if you need milk or if you need some essentials rather than go to the corner grocery store here. So things like that, I think, are worth taking a look at, as well as I think we do want to not make this a tourism-centric area, but we do want to allow the businesses to advertise and draw in from more than just our residents that are living here. I think we have too many vacancies within our area when you look at who are part-time versus full-time residents. So the more we can do to encourage people to come into town, even if it's just residents from Seaside, Story, Warrenton, just broaden the advertising to make sure these businesses are successful, I think is important to look at. And I'm not sure how much the planning commission can do that, or if it's going to be more of a function of the business plans of those proprietors, but it's something we can take a look at.
all right, thank you.
You kind of answered some of my question. My question is a multi-part question. So first of all, it's what are your thoughts for now and the near future of Gearhart, which you've already spoke about a little bit, and you've already spoken about some of the specifics. How can you, would you like to address Gearhart maintaining its residential community feel, or would you prefer additional commercial or tourist growth, and how they pertain to the comprehensive plan?
So I look at, we were a real fan of the residential push here in Gearhart and putting limits on the Airbnb and some of the other rentals that we had in town. We had several within our cul-de-sac that was a detractor. And now it has a much more personal feel, and we're much more connected with our neighbors. And I think that's really important. And I think that's something that Gearhart should maintain, is that residential feel. There may be an opportunity to look at, is there a better number than the limits that were put in place, and can that be expanded a little bit? But my bigger concern right now is looking at the vacancies. How many part-time versus full-time residents do we have? How do we move towards more full-time residents? Make this a more vibrant community without empty houses. So I think that's a real challenge, and I think right now the comprehensive plan fully supports the residential feel up for it, and that's what I really like about Gearhart, and that's something I really want to continue. I don't want to see us turning into a seaside or a Cannon Beach. I don't want to become a suburb of Seaside either. That'd be a real detractor, and I'm worried about some of the discussions that have been taking place, particularly with the fire station, if that would be almost moving in that direction. So I'm just keeping an eye on that, and I do want to try to do what we can to maintain this residential feel and get more families moving into this area as best we can with looking at affordability, of course, being a concern.
Okay. Alana.
How do you see your role as a planning commission member in city government? Describe your understanding of the relationship and interaction between planning commission and city council.
Well, the planning commission really is a body that's serving the council. When you look at the charter for the city of Gearhart, it's really the mayor and the councilors, the elected officials, and the planning commission is there to support you all through the execution and administration of the comprehensive plan that's put into ordinance within the two primary ordinances, the zoning and the subdivision ordinance. So we would be meeting in accordance with those ordinances. We see the applications, we review, we help with planning, we help with providing you with another citizen view of concerns or areas that you may have. And I almost look like there's a 3-tier. If the city administration takes care of all the basic things, most of your permit applications, things like that would go through, taken care of at the city level. Planning commission takes care of the next level up, where we have our formal public meeting once a month, and we go through and we'll look at any variances that are being requested and any conditional use permits that are being applied for, things like that. And then appeals would be brought up to you all. So if they don't disagree with us, or there's something more significant that we don't have authority at the planning commission to decide, it would then come up to the city council and give you the ultimate deciding point. So I see it sort of in the middle. We handle not the basic stuff that the city takes care of, the next level, and then the significant areas where the appeals would then come to you.
Are you aware of any present or future conflict of interest you might have as a member of the planning commission? If a situation should arise, would you excuse yourself from voting?
Yeah, I have no conflicts of interest at this time. And if there were any, and there was the lawyer in particular, I'm used to having a lawyer that I would ask him, do I have a conflict of interest? And they would tell me yes or no based on the circumstances. And I would hope the city has our city lawyer would have that opportunity as well, but I have no concern or issue with being able to recuse myself.
Okay, do you, as a candidate for the planning commission, have a question for any of the members of the city council?
The only question is timing. I'm assuming tonight you'll be making a decision. You just want to confirm that. And then if so, is the first meeting that the person selected would be the one next Thursday?
Yes.
And it is the last, almost, yeah, pretty much the last item on the agenda. I mean, it's way on.
Okay. Well, thank you, Greg. Would you mind sending someone else in?
Sure.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Jessica, will you give us your name and a short bio?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Jessica Newhall. I live here on Cottage. I've lived in the Gearhart area for about 6 years, but in the overall area since 2009, I lived just off Fillmore Loop. And I am the regional business manager at Pacific Power. So I oversee all the community and customer relationships for that organization. I've been there for about 18 months and enjoyed that work. Prior to that, I was in economic development. I worked at the college where I was the associate director of the Small Business Development Center, as well as the director for workforce and community education.
All right.
Do you believe that the comprehensive plan as written is still applicable, and does it need to be changed? And if so, how?
Yeah. I look at the comprehensive plan kind of as a community quilt, so to speak. So the idea that you build this, you design this quilt, you make this quilt, but that quilt isn't a static thing. It is a living entity. And so the comprehensive plan I view through that lens. I think that it is a document, it's a well-written, co-researched, well thought through document, but it's a living document. And just like that quilt, it needs to be revisited from time to time. Do I read through it now and say there's some glaring things that need to be updated? No, I look at it through the lens of that living document, that idea that we have a responsibility to look outwards at the horizon of what our community looks like, what the community needs are, whether those community needs have changed, whether the needs of the city have changed, what that fabric looks like that we're working with, and design, either maintain and preserve and act as stewards for that, or evolve that quilt as it needs. I mean, there are certainly aspects of, reading through the document that I can say, okay, maybe there are aspects of it that should be more revisited because there's evolution in technology. So one of the things that, because I come from the power industry now, I can see that there's a focus on energy efficiency, but do we ask those questions of, is this still relevant? Is this still applicable to the community we are now? Is this still aligned with what the future of Gearhart needs to be? And so I do think it's rooted in some really great core values about who we want this, what we want this community to look like, what it serves for our residents, the quality and character of this small, residential first, wonderful, extraordinary place that we live. That's what we're here to preserve. And then you weave in the other components that make the comp plan that living document as it moves forward.
So that kind of segues into the next question, which is, it's a multi-part question. So I'll read it to you in a little bit here. What are your thoughts for now and the near future of Gearhart? The question is asking you to be as specific as possible and address Gearhart maintaining its residential community feel. Or would you prefer to comment on additional commercial, or would you prefer additional commercial and tourist growth? And how do those, your thoughts on that pertain to the comprehensive plan?
Sure. Every morning I walk around the golf course with my dogs, and I marvel at just the peace and tranquility and the immense fortune that I have to live in this community as it is now, today, at present. And I think that is something worth preserving. I do think we have to make sure that we are relevant to the economic conditions on the North Coast. What do jobs look like now? What does the workforce look like now? What are housing needs now? What is who are we serving in this community? What are the current environmental regulations, environmental needs, environmental considerations? What kinds of things do we think need to evolve within the city to serve the residents that live here and the visitors that do come? I don't, as I look to what planning decisions or planning priorities, it's not about what I think though, it's about what the community and the community input is. So things that I look to, that if I were to say now that I have a sense of where Gearhart's priorities are, and probably what, having read the comp plan thoroughly and looked at what signals there are about what's important. The things that I see are protecting neighborhood livability and residential character, preserving open space, natural resources, and coastal resilience, supporting infrastructure and public safety before looking towards growth. And I'll come back to growth in a minute. encouraging development that is compatible in scale and aligns with Gearhart's character. Considers the needs of full-time residents alongside tourism-related interests as they align appropriately. And then maintaining transparent community engagement in those planning processes. So those are really where I would see the priorities as it relates to that. Ultimately, I think that it's about being a thoughtful steward of the comprehensive plan and making sure that you're getting input, not using your own judgment, but really trying to be a steward for those in the community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How do you see your role as a planning commission member in the city government? Describe your understanding of the relationship and interaction between the planning commission and the city council.
Sure. I think that word I just used around steward is really important. I view the role as a planning commissioner member, both as an advisory and a fiduciary to the public interest. So stewarding the public interest is really where I see that function. I think that the commission has a deep responsibility to review and understand land use policy, development matters, through the lens of the comprehensive plan, ordinances, state land use requirements, and community values. I think that the Planning Commission should approach decisions with fairness, be prepared, be professional and consistent in how it approaches it. In terms of how I view the relationship and my understanding of how it works with the council, I think it's a respectful partnership in that the council has its remit and role in being the voice of the people that have elected you and that you represent. The Planning Commission also has a role in maintaining its own kind of charter around what it's designed to be in terms of that steward. So I think it's a respectful partnership in how we approach the maintenance and growth, protected growth within the city together.
Are you aware of any present or future conflict of interest you might have as a member of the planning commission? If a situation should arise, would you excuse yourself?
Absolutely. I represent a utility that has interest here in the city. So certainly if there was anything to do with that, I would recuse myself if it had any sort of material bearing, and that would go with anything, any property that I owned, any relationship that I had. I would make that extraordinarily well known from the outset and make sure that I was not involved in any sort of conversation or voting. On the utility side, we are a regulated entity. How we navigate those kind of decision makings and influence, that's very clear how I would approach that. But I think, I've served on several boards. I have a lot of public service in my background. I am a very transparent individual. I believe in showing up transparently and openly and honestly, and I have no intention of not being transparent in any dealings that I have.
All right. Do you, as a candidate for the Planning Commission, have a question for any of the members of the City Council?
Well, yeah, I would ask, because you asked me the question of what you see the relationship and the role. I have talked to several members of the Planning Commission about this, and they gave me some wonderful advice, but I'd love to hear from your perspective how the commission and the council work together and what you see that relationship as.
Yeah, I think it's, I've always thought of the planning commission as a working committee for the council. So you get into the real nitty gritty of land use decisions, using the zoning code. And we in turn hopefully follow what you all are recommending to us. So we have the option of doing our own research or sending it back to you. But ultimately, I think you guys are in there doing the nitty gritty work.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you send in Carl, please?
Yes.
Standing back there chatting, so I'm gonna have a quick, just where you.
Yes, that'd be
All
great.
right.
Would you give us your name and a little bio background?
I will. Carl Lee, I lived in Gearhart for almost 6 years. A little bit of bio background, studied engineering, and computer science for the early part of my career. Worked for a couple governments, mostly in facilities and land use planning, so enough. Then I worked for the city of Bellevue in transportation division, so I'm somewhat familiar with planning. Spent my career mostly in software consulting, developer, computer science background, and served on several commissions where we moved from city of Issaquah outside of Seattle. Was the vice chair of the Urban Village Development Commission and the chair of the Economic Vitality Commission. And I also volunteer on a couple of financial committees right now, one for the CMH, the hospital, for their foundation. I'm on their finance committee, and the city of Gearhart budget committee. So a little bit about us and me.
Okay. Preston.
Do you believe that the comprehensive plan as written is still applicable? And does it need to be changed? And if so, how?
So first of all, absolutely applicable. That's why we moved here. We have a choice. We looked up and down the coast and we chose this largely for the quality of life that we all enjoy. So I think it's still applicable. Totally believe in its spirit. I think there's some things that need to be reviewed in there. One of the key things as I keep rereading it is sort of the disambiguation of some of the terminology we use. Residential, urban, semi-rural, rural, almost interchangeably, and they're not really interchangeable terms. There's a few other things like that that are in there that I think it needs a heavy dose of editing and cleanup. I was talking with Don Frank the other day about it. I think there's some other things in there that are ambiguous that just the clear and more concise that we can make it will make it easier for people to interact with the city and know what they want to do in the future. So, but the spirit, absolutely, it's totally followed here. Right, I'm keeping my answers brief. That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, thank you. Well, so the next question is, and what are your thoughts for now and the near future for Gearhart? And I'm supposed to instruct you to please be as specific as possible and address Gearhart maintaining its residential community feel, or would you prefer additional commercial and tourist growth and how they pertain to the comprehensive plan?
I think one of the key things there is the phrase additional in there. One of the things in the comp plan is talking about that our commercial development should be our commercial areas. So the Cottage Pacific Way interchange and everything we've done there. Obviously, the spaces out on 101. So additional beyond those, I don't think so. But those places, I want us to be flexible to the people that move in there. I get feedback as I talk to people within the community about, well, why is this in there? And why are we not able to do specific things? You know, specific instance might be like alcohol sales. We allow beer and wine, but no, I'll call it hard liquor, lack of a better phrase, but yet we allow it at McMillan's. I don't see anything in the comp plan that would address that specifically, but getting into details like that, I think would be important so that as the plan says, you know, this section is for the benefit of the residents. That's another area where I think terminology sort of crosses us up a little bit. I think when I talked here before, we talked about tourist and what's a tourist. Well, if you look up the definition of a tourist, a lot of our people who own homes here fit that definition. So should we use non-resident owners or something like that? So being precise on some of those pieces of terminology, I think would help the clarity of the overall comp plan.
Yeah.
How do you see your role as a planning commission member in the city government? Describe your understanding of the relationship and interaction between the planning commission and the city council.
Well, I think the number one thing, obviously, is advising city council. So whether it's reviewing the city meetings, we have public forums. Some commissions operate on a quasi-judicial role. I have experience in those. So if we get in that sort of thing where we have to make a decision or a decision and then a recommendation to the council, that's typically what it is. I think another key component of a planning commission, will sort of jump ahead to a question back to you all, is how do we interact with the citizens in the community? How do we gather that feedback? Me talking to two people on the golf course is information, but it's not data, right? It's something I've learned but does that necessarily represent the broader community? So that's something that the commission should absolutely be able to do, is sort of gather, collate, and represent that information.
Are you aware of any present or future conflict of interest you might have as a member of the planning commission? If a situation should arise, would you excuse yourself from voting?
You have to really find a question. Didn't you? No, I don't have any conflicts, and of course I would recuse myself if I foresaw or anybody said I had conflicts.
All right, and my question is the best. Do you, as a candidate for the planning commission, have a question of any of the members of the city council?
Not specifically to a member, but in general, one of the things that's in there, that's in the first part of the comprehensive plan, is talking about diversity. And the planning commission, the people in the plan represent diversity of opinions. And my question back to you all is, what would you give us as a city, you as a council, et cetera, a grade on how well we're doing on taking the data in and reflecting the diversity of the community? Did I make that close enough to the formal question?
I think the diversity of the membership of the planning commission is something that the mayors, who are generally the people who are appointing planning commission, I think that is a criteria that is thought about in the process that we're going through right now. At least it was for me personally, to maintain that diverse group. As far as data, yeah, I think I give us about a C
Okay.
in data collection, and my background is in quality assurance, and so, I mean, you rely on data.
Exactly.
So, I'm a big fan.
I would have to say it would depend on the subject matter, really. I think we are exceptional in some ways and we struggle in other ways. And that's not terribly surprising to me. I've worked in big city entities and small city entities, and we are definitely a small city entity where, you know, some of the people at this table wear a lot of hats and things get dropped to the cracks. And should they get dropped to the cracks? No. Can we do better? Yes, we should always strive to do better. But what we need are folks like you that point that out to us, that we can do better. We need to have I think we need to have public conversations about when we're not doing well and not be afraid to shy away from that.
Okay.
You want to say something?
Councilor Devereux, do you
No,
have what deep thought for this?
no, I was just listening to.
Oh, I didn't know if he was going to stab me or he agreed with me.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And the last person is not here. And that's Donna V. Nash, and I'm going to read her remark into the record. Following our brief answers to the Planning Commission interview questions. I will be out of country during the time in which Zoom interviews are being held. I return to Gearhart on May 17th. I agree with the comprehensive plan as written. I believe that it addresses the issues of how to maintain the historic nature of Gearhart while taking into account the need for growth in some areas. My thoughts on the present and future of Gearhart are that as a resident and owner of 3 residential properties here, I would like to see the personality of Gearhart maintained as it is. But I also acknowledge the need for an increased revenue stream to support the services that the city supplies to residents. We are a residential community and do not aspire to be a tourist attraction. At the same time, we need to address the needs of both our full-time and part-time residents in their needs for basic services such as water and safety, but recreational needs as well. As the former president of the Los Angeles Arboretum Foundation, I would bring my experience in the areas of governmental and residential forge. Just a second.
Interface.
Thank you very much. Interfacing financial planning and preservation of natural resources to the Planning Commission. My major accomplishment in this area was to forge a formally contentious relationship between the Los Angeles Parks and Recreation Department and the Arboretum Foundation into one body to not only operate the Arboretum, but to raise the private funds in order to ensure its proper maintenance. I was also responsible for bringing the Garden Conservancy of America's Open Days program to the city of Pasadena. Open Days is a fund raising project spanning the United States that provides access one day a year for the public to visit private gardens, the proceeds of which support other garden conservancy programs. My education and work experience, admittedly many years ago, was in the area of finance with jobs at Boeing and the Ford Motor Company. I believe that the role of the Planning Commission is to investigate and report to the City Council their findings on issues that have been brought before them and their advice on these issues as well. I cannot think of any areas of conflict of interest I would have as a member of the commission, but in the case that should arise, I would recuse myself. Having been through this interview process formally, I have no questions to the council. Thank you for considering my application. Hope to be of service to our fabulous city. Thank you, everyone. And we will now move on to the city council. I will tell you that it won't be until the very end of this process that we make a decision. So you can stay, you can go. It doesn't mean anything to us. I don't think. Doesn't mean anything. Thank you. All right. Approval of minutes. We have the work session of the City Council Wednesday, April 1st, 2026.
Move to approve the minutes for the work session of the City Council Wednesday, April 1st, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those who approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Approved. How about the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of the City Council on Wednesday, April 1st, 2026?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Planning Commission report, minutes. Anyone got any questions for Chad? I see and hear none. Okay, moving on. Holy cow, it's my report. So I've been gone for 3 weeks and on business. I would like to say that we need this bond. We need to do the work on the fire station and on City Hall. Please vote yes. And don't listen to those negative nannies that are out there making noise. Council reports. Sharon.
Yes, I've attended 2 meetings with concerned citizens regarding the post office. This group of people who are extremely intelligent, I might add, are trying to think outside the box and figure out what we can do for a post office situation. We haven't reached any conclusions, but there are some possibilities that we're looking farther into. Paulina, myself, and Dana had 3 coffees with the counselors on 3 different Saturdays. We didn't have a lot of people show up, but we got really good feedback from some of the people who came and commented to us. And then just attended the first budget committee meeting.
Paulina.
I did do several posts with regard to the the measure, the bond measure. Also hosted the Coffee with Counselors, as Sherry mentioned. Met with Chad briefly a couple of times and did the check reviews, also twice. Went to CMH, Columbia Memorial Hospital of Dana. We had kind of a virtual tour of the new facility, which has a lot of the groundwork done. So that big 60-foot posts that they're putting in, those have mostly been completed. Finally, I have to say on a personal note, I lost my older brother early in the month. So it's been kind of a long 2 months watching his decline and being there for him. Yeah, just getting through it. He was a great visitor to Gearhart. Thank you. He was a great visitor. He came 5 weeks a year on all the major holidays and stayed for a week and, you know, made his way on his bike to the 4th of July parade. He loved that. Loved visiting with friends who come over. Yeah, it was a good time, good place for him. Thank you.
I had a follow up on that. I have chills. So to piggyback a little bit on, well, let me back up. First of all, I want to remind everybody without taking the thunder from the fire department about the fundraiser coming up at the end of this month. I unfortunately will not be here. I am going to be in France, but I plan to donate before I leave. I always donate by PayPal, and just because I'm not attending or you're not attending doesn't mean you can't buy a ticket or buy something to support them. They'll talk to you more about that. Yes, I did attend the coffee with the counselors. I want to make it very clear that we did not talk about any decisions that will be forthcoming. So everything was on the up and up. And yes, I would say we had some great conversations with folks. And what I loved even more were the people that didn't have time or didn't already knew what they wanted to, the way they wanted to vote, but they just drove by and honked and waved at us to show support. That was really good for me. I did go to the CMH construction presentation. And one thing that I want to share with you is one of the things that we learned, and you heard about this in the paper. They built, CMH is a private entity. Am I correct on that, Carl? And they built their budget around the information that they received, that they would be receiving a $14 million grant, which is, for those of you who don't know, that's a FEMA Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Program grant. $14 million is a lot of money. And they thought they were getting the money, so they proceeded forward. They are a private entity and are able to do that. When it became not clear whether they're going to get that money anymore, they now have a $14 million possible hold that, or maybe not. There's some uncertainty there with their budget. And that is one of the, what I want to, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that that is one of the dangers of building your budget around a grant. Much easier for private entities to do, very difficult for government entities to do, because if we ended up with a hole like that in our budget, we would then have to go back to voters because we have no authorization to spend more than $100,000 without getting voter authorization. And that would create delays, that would create, unhappiness. And it could also, we could lose a lot of money because we could have already moved forward and invested some money and then been in a pickle. One thing I will tell you, there is good news. I was very impressed by the construction project. I like a lot of the operational decisions, a lot of the physical decisions that they've made, and they are doing some phenomenal fundraising, which I think that we should steal many of their ideas. But one of the things you should know is that you have an opportunity to buy a $250 or a $1,000, $250 brick or a $1,000 paver with your name on it. And for that, you would be investing in possibly one of the only hospitals that might remain standing if we have a really significant tsunami event. They're probably going to have the most viable helicopter pad, I'll tell you that. So something to think about. Voters pamphlets, if you follow me online, you know I've spent a lot of time struggling to try and get voters pamphlets for us and having some tussles with the post office, which I don't know if they've necessarily been resolved, but I did get some extra voters pamphlets from the elections clerk, and they're on the front counter here. And if you reach out to me, if you can't find any, I will see what I can do with my more. Oh, I want to make a note. I've seen a lot of letters to the editor about our water system. I want to point out, our water system was built in 2000, I think it was completed in 2012-ish. And our fire station was built in 1958. And the building that you're standing in right now, this portion of it was built in, as best I can tell, late 60s, early 70s. And at that time, this area back here was where the fire department, the police department, that was a carport. And they put up the walls, but they didn't, the insulation isn't great back there. I went back there one day and I saw them back there trying to write reports in 80-degree temperature wearing bulletproof vests. And I know that that's not a great way to store evidence. A lot of evidence needs to be temperature controlled. So I dragged down an air conditioner, portable air conditioner. We donated it to them. They plugged it in and all the lights went out. So if you're wondering, why can't we just break this up into small bits and do little bits? It's because this thing, everything we need to do or want to do creates a snowball effect. And you certainly wouldn't want to put $250,000 doors on a fire station that the roof isn't strapped out. So then we have to fix that. And then if you're going to do that, then you see what I'm saying? Everything leads to something else. So please keep that in mind when you're voting. And, oh, one more thing. In light of the questions that we received, something I was going to discuss and my concerns, and I'll enhance my thoughts on this later. But I would like to see us create a citizen oversight committee should the bond pass, a committee that would look at the project and do a review to make sure that the money is being spent wisely and not being wasted. And I'll talk more about that because I don't have too much enough time. Right.
I've met with a number of citizens in Gearhart, and the number one question is a non-city problem, and that is the current status of the post office. That's a federal problem. And that's what I've said, there's no way in the world that we have any influence over how the Postal Service is going to deal with the north end of Gearhart. I've also the second question that comes up is, how do I feel about the bond issue? And my answer has always been, if we don't take care of our volunteers, if we don't do something for the infrastructure in the city, we're not going to have any volunteers. Okay, so you either support them or you suffer the consequences. And the consequences not only affect this city, it affects the district, which pays most of the operating costs of the fire department. So that when I explain that to people, they have no idea about how it works. And I think that's the message that we need to get out to the general population voting people. And as far as all these naysayers and everything like that, I can tell you that I know from personal experience that there have been 2 or 3 of them that have needed assistance from the emergency services department. And they're probably the biggest detractors from the bond measure. So that's like looking to gift horse in the mouth. So I just want everybody in Gearhart to know that if you don't support the volunteers and you don't support the city, then might as well move back to you.
All right, thank you, Preston. Let's move on to a city officer report. Chief Gregory, please.
Good evening. I'll make this brief. Stats have been provided and they're posted on the city blog. Encourage everyone to take a look. We're at 440 calls for service already this year. Please keep in mind, we're doing that with 3 officers, and that's not including the calls for service the county is contracting to cover as well. So I say that to say it's starting to pick up again. Yeah. Sergeant Brown attended a firearms instructor refresher last month. It was a week long in the Washington County area. It's a great class. He brought back some good stuff. We actually have range on Sunday, so we're looking forward to that. And Officer Merez attended a narcotics investigation course in Astoria today. Very good class, had a lot of good reviews. So we're getting our training in. This is a great time of the year for a lot of officers to get training because we're getting ready for summer. So refresh our skills and hone in and get ready to go. Do you have any questions?
Just curious where we're at with the K-9 issue.
Thank you. Want to put that on pause, if that's okay. We've got a lot going on, and it might have got to moving a little quick, a little too fast. So I'd like to push pause on that for a little while, maybe revisit that down the road.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief Como.
Thank you. First, thank you all counselors for your support and your plugs for the bond measure, and especially Councilor Deborah, thank you very much for that. A quick rundown from last month. We had 64 calls. 41 were inside the city and 21 were in the district. We only went out for 2 aid calls last month. One was to Warrenton for a structure fire and one was to Hamlet. It was a vehicle fire, turn structure, turn wildland fire, kind of a little type thing there. We didn't have any aid requests. I put them up before. We had to have Seaside ambulance come because medics was super overtaxed and busy and they couldn't provide services then. So that was great news there. Yes, we do have our big annual fundraiser coming up Saturday, Memorial Day weekend. So it'll be a great event like it usually is. We encourage everybody to come, have a fun, safe time and have a great memory. You can, as counselors said, you can donate on our website. If you go to gearhart.com, click donate. You can use PayPal, make a donation, or if you click the store, you can buy our last 2 years merch on there. We'll have this year's new stuff at the event. We don't put the new stuff there until after the ball and 4th of July is done. That way it kind of gets kept for the event itself there. But it's been getting a lot of traction online. Been doing well with our advertising there. So we're looking forward to it. We thank everybody for your support for that. And unless there's any questions, that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And if you, Chief, want to leave, that's okay. I mean,
Thank you, sir.
yeah,
I'm taking my stool.
I saw that.
I have something coming up for the 4th of July, so.
Oh, you do? Okay. Oh.
Thank you.
All right. Master of money.
So this month, in revenues, charter communication, 24-25 property tax appeal has been dismissed. And because it was dismissed, there's an ORS that says after that the appeal has been decided that each taxing district gets back those potential refund credits that they withheld from us. So there was a payment in 10-002 property tax prior years of $5,240 that Gearhart received back for money that was withheld from us last year. So that's good news, which also means that that appeal will not be in effect this year. So we still have 2 other ones, but the charter communication one has been resolved. A quarterly marijuana tax in 10-0034 and transient room tax in 10-0053 have also been received. Both of them anticipated. Of course, we'd always like to see them higher. The transient room tax was very close to where it was last year. So again, both of them didn't have very much growth, but continue to be strong revenue sources for us. In expenditures, a payment was made to Bradley Werner in account 10-1041. This was for a specialized attorney services to assist the city through the development of a new telecommunications franchise agreement with the
Vero broadband. It was recommended by Gary, Ilzer, and Hammond, this particular company. They specifically target and have lots of experience across the United States. So we use them. The fire department had required annual testing performed by the National Hose Testing Specialist in account 101372. The water department used Roto-Rooter in account 303061 to dispose of routine waste materials that are created during the water filtration process. It happens about twice a year that they come and they have to take that, it's like a sludge material to Longview. It's a little bit expensive, but overall not huge. There was also a payment in 7199 to Diversified Construction and Consulting, which was part of the meter replacement project that was approved at the April City Council meeting. And the project is half completed. I think they put in 137 meters, and we're currently waiting on the second half of the order. So they'll come back and put in the rest of those meters, hopefully within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
That's it.
That's it.
Thank you very much. All right. City attorney is not on, so we'll move to the city administrator.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You've got my status report there for the updates. Let me know if you have any questions. Took a little bit of time off week before last, and staff did fantastic, so no issues there. I do have an update on the ORCA information that we've been working on. Last month, you directed us to get some more information on the 13th Street issue with boundaries and development, and we're still working with legal counsel reviewing those concerns. At this point, the city still needs to establish some key facts before making any determination about whether or not there's any code violations down there. And council is reviewing the deed survey information related to those properties. So we're working on it, and I'll have an update for you. I think we'll be able to complete that project and update you on that information in June.
Did you say the council's working on?
Our legal counsel.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, yeah, we're working with Gary Elsner and Hammond on that.
All right. All right, so that's it for those. And now we're going to do the visitors and then Blue.
My battery started to die. I apologize. Can you put a plug in right there in case?
Yeah.
Don't unplug the TV.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Hey, I love technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, good evening, Mayor Smith, members of council. My name is Dan Blue. I'm the Government and Community Relations Manager for Recology Northern Oregon. These two folks behind me, Chris Carey is our General Manager for Northern Oregon. And then I want to introduce Sean Lamont, who's our new Operations Manager for our North Coast collections. And he comes to us with a wealth of experience. He ran one of our collection companies in the Portland metro area before moving. He's now a resident of the city of Warrenton. So lives here close by. I'm going to share my screen. If this works, everybody cross your fingers. Thank you for not stepping on my PowerPoint. Let's see here. Yes, there we go. Okay, so that is the correct city. Just a few things tonight. We have a short presentation for you. We're here obviously to talk about our annual rate review and propose a rate adjustment. We're going to jump right into that first thing tonight. We'll then share just a little bit about Recology. Maybe folks haven't all heard of this before, but I'll move quick through it. Provide a few operations updates. Then, of course, myself and the folks behind me are available to answer any questions that you have afterwards. But I'll move fast. So jumping right into this, we are seeking a 3% CPI-based rate adjustment this year. The primary drivers for this is, as you can imagine, fuel costs are kind of going through the roof, and that's a big part of our expenses as a collection company. Labor is keeping pace with inflationary pressures as well. And we have seen tip fee increases at headquarters in Cowlitz County. Those three drivers have kind of put us in a place where we are back here again asking for a modest rate adjustment. We're stick to CPI under the terms of the franchise agreement. Last year, or over the last 12-month period, CPI was actually 3.1. So we're trying to be a little bit conservative at 3%. These incremental rate adjustments do help over the long term to avoid having to like skip a year or two and come back and do a much larger increase. And so the way this process works, red screen, by April 1st of each year, we send the city administrator our annual report, which shows our actual expenses from last year and our projected expenses for the coming year. And if that moves us up and down outside of the target ratio, operating ratio, which is 90%, then we seek a rate adjustment. It doesn't require formal approval because the way the franchise is written, it's a rate adjustment as long as it's not more than 4% and it's CPI based. With this 3% rate adjustment, the most common customer in Gearhart would see $1.19 a month increase, and at the 32-gallon curbside level, 71 cents a month. And so with the rate adjustment, it would put us at 90.45 in our operating margin. Again, that's a little bit conservative, pretty close to the target. So this is just to show you what our rate sheets look like. This is just an excerpt from it. I believe in your council packet, you have our financial report. You have a cover letter explaining what we're doing this year. You have the proposed rates, and then also a third-party financial review, which is specific to our collection company operations. So I just highlight those figures that I already provided for you. 71 cents for the 32-gallon curbside and $1.18 for the 90-gallon.
You all help me remember.
Sure.
That's great. We did not grant an increase, or you didn't ask for an increase last year?
That's correct. That's correct. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, and so this is what it would look like for a 1 yard trash service monthly, and obviously commercial is a little bit more expensive than residential.
So can I go back
Yes.
to that? So Dan had earlier said that, sorry, Chris Carey, the company, had said that we try to come in and do these smaller bites, so we don't do the big bites. The difference last year was the prior year, we came to you and said we wanted to increase those off-curve rates or increase all rates or increase those. Council elected to increase just those, and that's why we were able to come back with a zero the next year, because we thought we'd see some attrition, but we didn't. People kept that off-curve rate, and so it had an impact to the rate that didn't require a price increase across all those rates. So that's why we came in at zero. Is that helpful?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's why I like having my boss.
I'm taking notes.
So
We all have
it's going to show up in the performance reviews.
Okay, so I see here in operational expense, you've got fuel. I mean, nobody anticipated what's gonna happen. So
No, and it's, I think it's 20% of our expenses approximately, right, Chris? For fuel.
I think
Around that.
So the fuel, we're being conservative, we've seen this before, we went back and looked at the history, and last time I think it was Ukraine, we saw that uptick, it's probably 7 to 8 minutes of fuel. We're taking our best guess, and that's how we kind of build this, and so that's what you're seeing. So I think you might see much higher increases from other folks, we get one shot at it this year, it's not like we can do monthly changes or a surcharge or anything like that. But we were thoughtful about fuel in terms of what we think it's gonna be.
But nobody could see this coming.
Well, like we turn these in, right when, I want to say something, but I'm not going to. Right when, something hit the fan, we were like, okay, we better add some fuel here. So.
I just don't want next year you guys come back and want 15% increase.
Well, if it drops, right, we'll see it change, but if it stays at 5 to 6, I think we're at 6, right now. $10 a gallon, that's gonna be tough to absorb.
For diesel.
Yeah.
Yeah, projections are hard, because we don't control the global economy here at the North Coast. So, yeah, so that's what it looks like for the commercial. Chris, thanks for helping. This might be a little bit like a review for you, but just a reminder that we are 100% employee-owned company in Oregon. We operate 5 transfer stations, 3 compost facilities, a number of collection companies, and including here at the North Coast. And then, are specific to our operations here, these are the communities that we serve up and down the coast, including Gearhart. We have the Astoria Transfer Station, the collection company, which serves Gearhart. We also have a satellite yard in Nahale. So that's just a quick overview of who we are here at the coast. I want to talk just briefly about our waste services. This is our education and outreach team. We did hire a new person this year. Her name is Claire Wolcott. And if you haven't seen her yet at an event here in town, you will. She does a lot of community events, beach cleanup support, some of our city cleanup events she supports. She also does education programming where she goes into classrooms and teaches kids about how to recycle right. And also artisan residency program, and I'll show you a slide here in a minute, an additional one on that, where we provide a stipend to local artists to take garbage out of the transfer station and turn it into art. And then we have a art exhibit typically up in Astoria. I want to let you know that we do have an applicant from City of Gearhart in our artist in residence pool. And they're actually doing interviews for those artists tomorrow. So that's exciting for us.
Will you let us know?
I'm sorry, yeah.
Will you let us
Oh,
know?
absolutely, we're happy to. This is just a great illustration of some of the art that has been made from garbage. It does a few things. It prevents that garbage from going to the landfill. And it also provides an educational opportunity and kind of a fun thing. And we do this up and down the company. It's one of our kind of signature things. We really love this event. Just a quick update on the Recycling Modernization Act, which is also called the Recycling Modernization Act and Plastics Pollution Act. So for us, the RMA, as we refer to it, launched in Oregon on July 1st of last year. Not a lot of changes here in Gearhart, but we did make some modifications to what's accepted at the curb. We did add nursery pots, tissue paper that's for like wrapping, not the blow your nose kind, but the wrapping paper tissue can go in, as well as large plastic totes. So we used to have a cap at 5 gallons. Now those big tubs can be put in. Gable top cartons. So think of like almond milk or soup that comes in that shelf-stable packaging that can now go in your cart. We took aluminum foil off, which upsets a lot of people, but foil burns up when it is recycled. And so it's not contributing anything meaningful to the recycling system. And when I say we, I mean Oregon DEQ and their advisory committees took them off. So don't throw the darts at me for the foil problem.
We know the guy's name.
We went to high school with them. So
Yeah, we have close.
his name is David Alloway, just to let you know. But
His address is.
So the other thing about RMA is that they are, yes, you have a question.
Did you say gardening pots?
Nursery pots, like plant pots, the crinkly
The
black
plastic
ones.
ones?
They didn't used to be allowed in the curb, now they are. So they're little like square black plastic,
How about the plastic bigger
like a 6-inch pot or a 10-inch.
gallon pot?
Yeah, those can all
All
go.
those cool.
Yep. Anything that's a tub that fits the definition of a tub, that is 2 inches by 2 inches or bigger, can go in your curbside cart. If it's a number 2 and number 5. A little bit complicated. Claire does a great job of understanding all this, and I'm happy to have her come if you would like a presentation specifically on what's recyclable, what's not, contamination reduction. We can provide that.
But you're gonna share that with your customers?
Yes, we
They're
are.
gonna
We already have done mailers, bill backs. We've done social media posts, tabling at farmers markets, more of that to come to help educate people. Under the RMA, we do get some funding for contamination reduction, which helps offset some of our costs, which is great, and that does benefit ratepayers wherever we have recycling services. So I was mentioning this is called a Recycle-On Center. This is at our Ashland Recycling Center. It was the first one placed in the state of Oregon, and there's going to be about 250 of them statewide. They started in Southern Oregon. This collection center is designed for harder to recycle materials that we don't collect curbside. So think plastic bags, think plastic caps that you take off of your laundry detergent, those 6 packs of beer or pop, rigid plastic holders, those things, you know, those can all be recycled here. Eventually, there will be styrofoam collection here as well. Right now, I know that the state and the Circular Action Alliance, who's sort of the provider of the RMA system, are looking at placing one of these in Seaside. We're looking at having one at our Astoria transfer station. If the city of Gearhart is interested in connecting with CAA about potentially having one of these here in your community, I can make that connection. It's 100% paid for, even pay some labor to open and close it morning and night. So I'm happy to connect the city with CAA to do that. So last set of updates, we have worked really hard over the last 18 months to improve our hold time. So when customers call our customer service line, they're not sitting on the phone for a long period of time. I will admit, when I first started 3 years ago, our hold times were kind of, I'm looking at my boss, atrocious. They were atrocious. So I also will give Chris credit because he has really pushed all of our teams to improve our hold times. We're down to all of the time under a minute, consistently under a 40-second hold time, which is a huge difference.
Let me correct that really quick. This is one of my notes, Stan. Time to answer is like 40 seconds. So it'll ring and within 40 seconds on average, we'll answer it. Our times were much worse. If you're then put on hold, the average hold time is about a minute 20.
Thank you for clarifying that.
But much improved. It's a local call center. It's a human that you can talk to. There's no prompts. It's what do you need? How can we help you? It's very refreshing.
Thanks. Thanks, Chris. So the other thing that we'll say is that we are converting to a modern customer account system and billing system. So the back end of everything that we do as a company with our customers, we're using a very many decades old data system, and we're upgrading to a modern one. This is going to improve efficiency for our customer service team. It's going to provide a better experience for customers when they call in. It will also improve our billing system and bill pay online. All of that's getting an overhaul. That's going to happen midsummer. We will send out notification to the customers, and I'm happy to take that question. Yes.
Are we still gonna be able to call that phone number and pay by phone?
Yes. Chris?
Yes. Yes. I mean, right now in some instances, people will call us and if they want to pay with a Visa, they have to hang up and call a Cooper number that we provide, and we hope for the best.
Yeah.
So we're, it'll be online pay. A lot of this will be much cleaner. We're dealing with an AS400 green screen DOS prompt, if that brings back memories to people.
Yeah.
It brings back pain to me, but all that's going away. It's it's been very bulletproof, but it's not flexible. It's not talking to other systems. So we're well over.
And it's also going to integrate what we see on the truck with cameras, with customer data. So everything will be a lot smoother in terms of communicating if there's an overflowing garbage can or lots of contamination, those kinds of things. So it should all get improved. There may be a little bit of an adjustment period when we flip from one to the other. That's normal, but this isn't the first time our company has switched to this specific software. So others have learned from those, or we've learned from their mistakes, and so hopefully it'll be pretty smooth this time around.
There are some rules about overflowing garbage cans?
So what typically happens is we'll charge for an extra, if there's an overflowing or an extra, and then people can call and dispute it, but now the truck will take a picture of it, timestamp it, it's right there, so there's no question, we can send that out to folks. But it works in reverse. They didn't pick me up, let me check. You're right, we didn't. We didn't go by, we didn't see a lift, so it cleans up a lot of that, which can create a lot of work, which can create a lot of expense to go back and do stuff. This should clean that up. But new toys, new problems, if anybody's ever been through a conversion, raise your hand. There, you gotta work through it, so, yeah.
It also, recycling will be able to provide messaging back to the individual customers if we see a lot of material that shouldn't be in their recycling cart. We don't, ding them right away. We try to do education. So Claire is a receiver of that little flag, like, oh, this customer put a bunch of big styrofoam blocks. Well, right now we can't handle that curbside. So Claire can then send an email or a message and show a picture of it to that customer to help reinforce that education.
So exactly how does that work? I mean, when they come by my recycle bin, when they come by my place, it just seems to me like truck, the arms come on out.
Yeah,
So the driver has a camera that can see what's dumped in.
Well, see what dumps in.
Yeah, and so the driver will go, oh, there's a bunch of styrofoam, they'll make a note right now. The diligent drivers will do that. And then Claire gets a copy of it and she'll send an email or a voicemail and say, hey, we picked up some styrofoam today. Don't do that next week, or something like that. She's a lot nicer, has much better energy than me. They don't let me make those calls. But with the system that we hope to have as we set it up and then we start bolting on new stuff to it that it can take. Eventually the camera will just take a picture, notify it, and boom, it goes right into the tablet. The tablet creates an email and sends it to the customer.
So what do you do with the styrofoam stuff in the back of the truck?
We don't touch it because once it's in the truck, we're not asking our drivers to go in there and pull it out. It goes to the recycling center, it gets sorted and gets thrown out. If there's no market for it, it's called wishful recycling, when people throw stuff in their garden. Well, they'll take care of it. I mean, I do that. Sorry, Dan.
yeah. Well, things are coming down the pipeline. AI will be used at some point to help scan loads to identify what are contaminants. It can tell by the shape of the material that it's not supposed to be. Like a plastic bag is really bad for recycling processors. So.
And batteries are a real problem.
Yeah.
So we're excited. We've had, I get a lot of calls about truck fires, which isn't great because it's a $500,000 piece of equipment. We see smoke, we eject the load out onto the street or a pavement. That's not fun. We got to clean it up. Everybody's like, what's happening? They go to our transfer stations, batteries get run over and they explode and they catch fire. That's a very dangerous situation. So that's one of our more common issues. Hopefully with some of this technology, we can get, it's not that we would pick it out, but we would notify people, please don't do this. Here's where you can go do that.
Yeah, I worked a major fire down in Southern California that was started by a truck driving down the road with flames coming out of it, not realizing, and the stuff got up and got in the brush.
That's the one where the mobile home park burned to the ground and 2 people lost their lives. Different one. Okay.
Well, I'm not saying, I'm not gonna be specific about it, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it's happened when.
That's pretty awful.
When you eject the load out of your truck, all that oxygen is right there now. So
Mhm.
we teach them to compact the load and then try to get to a safe space and they're calling the fire department.
Well, I wasn't saying it was their fault.
No, we got those.
I have 2 comments and a question. First comment is I've had the occasion to call customer service a couple of times in the last year. The service was amazing.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sweating after.
Yeah, I know. The gal on the phone was great, both times, and that was really cool. Also, I went to the hazardous waste, got rid of all of our lithium batteries that we didn't need anymore. That was also an awesome experience. The staff there were really good, so that was really a good service. And then my question, like, the white plastic that says 1, right? Does it say 1 on the bottom?
PET.
Yeah, this is a 1, in the little recycle. 1, you still can't recycle that.
I'm
Is that
gonna
right?
give you a simple rule for bottles. If it's
Okay.
plastic and the neck is smaller than the base, it's recyclable.
So this would be recyclable?
100%.
That's also redeemable too.
That's also a deposit.
Right, but like a bigger thing, like
Yes.
for juice or something
Yes.
that's clear.
Yes.
Small net.
If it has a neck smaller than the base, it is recyclable in your curbside cart. If it's a
Wow.
tub, margarine, yogurt,
And
butter, 2 inches or by 2 inches or bigger, because if it's smaller, it gets stuck in all the equipment in the material recovery facility, and so it gums up their equipment. Same way bags get wrapped around all their equipment, so neck is smaller than the base, you can throw it in your cart. Yeah, about the
I
numbers.
learned something. Thank you.
DEQ would be probably.
We're kind of interrupting your presentation.
No, it's fine. I'm done. Like, I mean, we're here.
So I'm just curious, of all the cities that your company services, do you have the same rates for each of those cities?
No, so not, there's no one city that's treated the same in terms of rates because there's different, programs in each one. So there could just be trash service and that's it. It depends a lot on the size of the city and what sort of recycling requirements we have. So some cities have, curbside recycling, curbside organics pickup, which is just yard debris, or they have organics and compost pickup. So that's a different rate. And then there's, just recycling, mixed recycling. Some have glass separated, so there can be 4 trucks going to one house, much like what happens in a Portland.
Okay, but yeah, so that's apples to pears to oranges. So apples to apples?
They're very close. In the communities like this where we have, Dan showed the slide with the cities, there's slightly different rates for, comparable services, and some of that has to do with distance to the transfer station, that kind of thing. When you get over into Tillamook County, just Manzanita and Nahum Weeder, that's a different rate setup because the disposal costs are different over there as well. So it's close, and we can provide you some of that if you'd like. We take a look at that when we're looking.
I was just curious where we
Yeah.
fell and all that.
The other thing I would add is that some of the franchise agreements are worded differently and some of them are, they were not all conceived at once. So there's historical differences. Things have changed over the years, you know, unique to one city versus another. As Chris said, different services. Yeah, I think, but most and franchise fees differ city by city. But most of them are similar in that we collect enough through the rates to cover our costs, plus an agreeable margin that is articulated in the franchise. And we don't get to choose who our customers are. Every single person, every single house, every single business is our customer. So we assume the great customers and we assume also the not so great customers. So that's part of that exchange and why we have a franchise agreement.
Okay, and one last question,
Sure.
you probably not gonna like, but aren't we a captive audience? I mean.
Sure, it's an exchange for, you give us responsibility to service your city. And in exchange, we provide you with a franchise fee.
Right, but do we have a choice and?
Yeah, I mean, it's, the franchise fee has a 5-year rolling term.
No, I mean, and who services our city?
You could choose to use a different hauler.
Warrenton does their own.
Well, they do.
Yes.
The city doesn't.
So there's a long process though, because of the capital investment. So we always ask for a term that rolls. And if you determine that we're not doing what you need us to do, or if you want to do it yourselves, you can let us know and then you can terminate the franchise and then it rolls for, I think, 5 or 7 here. And at the end of that 5th or 7th year, then it goes out to bid. The reason it's built that way is because we've just invested in expensive trucks and carts and that kind of thing. That is the most common type of franchise agreement in Oregon. There's only a few. Warrenton is one that hauls their own and only part of it because we do the recycling for them and we do containers over a certain size. They're thinking heavily about, are they actually, I think they have to come back with a pretty hefty price increase because they have to reinvest in trucks. Henry Balensiefer, I would encourage you to speak with him. He's probably got some strong opinions about that. City manager, Dan. Esther has taken a hard run at this. If you're interested, not that we want to not give away we don't want to give away servicing you, but if it's something you're looking at, it's something they're contemplating. Sure.
And I would add that there's efficiencies having us close by.
Multiple cities, yeah.
Rather than a caller having to come from southern coast of Oregon to serve you. So there's efficiencies there, so there is a trade-off.
Yeah. The other piece is that the margin is regular. So we can't just charge whatever we want, we come to you and you have to approve it.
All right, no more questions, I hope.
Thank you for the power supply. Thank you for your time. If you have any follow-up questions, if you as a city are interested in getting connected about the site, the Move On Center, Recycle-On Center, Recycling Box, let me know and I'll.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good
Take
evening.
care.
Yep. All right,
Yes, we did. Simple one.
you know, with this, we don't need a motion because this is set on their franchise agreement.
Yeah, there's nothing to do.
Well,
Right.
it said that you don't have to approve if it's under a certain percentage.
Right, and it is under the
Correct.
3.1.
Correct.
So this is just something we need to just be aware of, and that's what we are.
Be prepared to answer questions.
All right, we're gonna move on to public communication, written and oral. And on the first is Eric Halpern. Will you give us your name and address? Yes, I am going to read that. Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to get away with murder, I know. Anyone wishing to address the city council concerning items of interest not on the agenda may do so at this time. All remarks will be limited to 5 minutes per person or shorter. Requests to comment electronically must be submitted by email to the city recorder at info@cityofgearhart.com no later than 4 p.m. the day of the meeting. In-person attendees wishing to speak are required to sign in prior to the meeting.
Shush.
Okay, Eric, you are going to give us your name and address, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Eric Halperin, 661 10th Street. Mayor, I was asked to be on to speak as a backup to either Vicky or Doris, who had a statement to make. And I wasn't sure whether they were going to do it or not, and that's why I was on the agenda. And you put me first. I figured I'd be going last, and I'd know already whether they had their statement to make. Could you clarify whether or not they're going to do it?
Am I going to hear something from you, Vicky?
You are.
Okay, Eric, I can put you on hold if you want.
You know, I'll just do it this way. They are going to make a statement of which I was a signatory to, and so I'm going to support what they're going to say. But in addition, I'll just use this time. I want to thank you, and I want to thank the council and the city administrator, the city staff. I want to thank the fire department for all that you people have been doing over a very long time to try and improve our public safety building. I think you've just done a lot of work over a lot of time, and I support you in that, and I thank you for that. And I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Vicky, would you state your name and address?
My name is Vicki Abramson, and I'm at 207 North Cottage, Gearhart. And I'm going to read a letter that is going to be going to the Daily A this week, probably appearing this weekend. And this letter has been composed by Eric and Halpern and B.B. Michael with input from citizens. And it is going to be signed, or it is signed by 48 residents here in Gearhart. So I'd just like to read it to you. Vote yes to invest in Gearhart. It's clear to all that Gearhart's fire station is long overdue for remodeling or replacement. After years of diligent work by citizen committees and the city, which resulted in numerous rejected proposals, after 9 community engagement sessions over the past 18 months requesting citizen input, after numerous city council meetings
and work sessions open to the public with updates by blog and information on the city's website that clearly explain the scope and intent of the project. We now have before us a workable solution that leaves the fire station in its present location with a cost 1/3 of the last failed proposal. This new plan to remodel the existing building improves public safety for our community, you, our friends, our neighbors, and improves the safety and operations for our dedicated volunteer firefighters, police, and public works. And yet, there are some who find fault with any proposal or solution presented. They are standing in the way of bringing a decrepit, inefficient, and unsafe fire station up to a reasonable modern standard. For whatever reason, these folks just aren't willing to invest in Gearhart. The Gearhart we know and love is better than that. Our health and safety and that of our Gearhart neighbors, first responders, and city workers is worth the proposed investment. For more information, go to cityofgearhart.com. Join us and vote yes on 44239. And as I said, there's 48 citizens that signed this letter, and I can read it for the, you want it read for the record?
The names?
The names?
I don't think it's necessary to read the names. I mean, you just read the letter. I mean, can you say them all in 2 minutes? Go ahead.
I don't know, Karen. I don't know. BB Michael, Eric Halpern, Vicki Abramson, Doris Ingibus, Lisa Gervani, David Russell, Penny Sobel, Ellen and Hal Dipster, Nancy and Russ Taggart, Pat Woolner, Maggie Shoemaker, Nancy Dara, Marilyn Gilbow, Betty Smith, Janet Elliott, Duncan Brown, Mark and Trudy Zaguire, Pat Johns, Jean and Wilson Mark, Susan Anderson, Judy and Jake Redkoff, Susan Edie, Harry and Patty Ayers, Sharon Klepper, did I say your name right?
Klepper.
Okay, Sharon did it too. Nancy and Phil Draper, Lee Draper, Martin Grassmeter, Kathy and Terry Graff, Deanne Patterson, OT and Eileen Millsap, Georgia and Brad Winker, Maxine and Joel Johnson.
Carl and Lacey Woody. That's two.
All right.
I'd like to add my name to that.
Okay,
Bill.
thank you very, that's it?
That's it, Carrie. Did I make it through?
You got 33 seconds.
You want to do an interpretive dance?
Yeah, through. Thank
Okay.
you.
No,
Thanks a
thank
lot.
you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, now we're moving on. And what we've got is a written public comment correspondence from the South County Community Food Bank. And it's to thank us for our generous donation to them in the first quarter of 2026. That was for $500. And now, for the late written correspondence, we have a water fluoridation and living with multiple chemical sensitivities. We've got the Gearhart Vero franchise agreement from Grant Chapel. And we have the truth about bond measure 4239 from Dana. And those are our late correspondence. Moving on. We're now going to go to ordinance and resolutions. We have ordinance 954, an ordinance granting Vero Broadband a telecommunication franchise in Gearhart. Chad, do you feel up to reading?
I'll do my best.
So this is the second reading for the ordinance, 954, an ordinance granting to Vero Broadband LLC and its affiliates a limited liability company franchise to construct, operate, and maintain telecommunications network with city of Gearhart, Oregon. The second reading, what we would need is a motion to approve. Second.
I'll give you a motion to approve ordinance 954, reading once by the title only.
You second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
There was as you saw with that, correspondence from Craig Chapel, it answered most of the questions that you come up with from the last meeting. Let us know if you have any concerns, so I can forward more questions on it.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Are your questions answered? Do you feel satisfied?
I didn't see where that was.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was in late correspondence, came in yesterday, so you probably didn't get a chance. We got
It's the chapel one.
on your desk today.
Start to.
And he answered the questions about, would this be above ground, underground, and that sort of thing.
Here,
And to paraphrase, looks like about, his estimates are 2/3 of it would be above ground on existing hardware. 1/3 of it could be underground, and then they talked about how they would handle that for our customers.
Yeah, I haven't looked through that. Sorry.
You did a pretty good job answering your questions, I think.
Yeah.
well, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Planning Commission appointments. New business. At this time, anyone who wishes to speak in the audience or on TV, raise your hand. Anyone in the audience, raise your hand. You can speak for 3 minutes during each of the discussion points, which is the Planning Commission, the 4th of July celebration, and the city administrator review in that order. Anyone going to speak on TV? I see none. Okay. I'd like to nominate Greg Bush to the Planning Commission.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to say something. I've been really, really impressed by the applicants that we have been receiving on that. And I have to say, this was a particularly tough one for you. And I feel for you having to make that decision. I don't disagree with Greg, but I think any one of them would have done a great job.
Oh my God, yeah. There's just all sorts of things that we could do with people like
Unfortunately, we
this.
only do one at this time.
Yeah,
What I put down here is, Gearhart is very lucky to have such quality applicants. I mean, every single one of these people that volunteered the time. I applaud every one of them.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, moving on. 4th of July celebration, and I believe, Chief, you have something you want to say to us?
Oh, boy. Yes, sir. I want to sit this time, if that's all right.
You can.
Go through. So this has become an annual thing. We try to make the 4th of July the safest it can be. I think each year we've gotten better at identifying what happened the year before and trying to come up with a way to correct it or at least mitigate some of it. We've started meetings last month with local stakeholders, basically fire departments, police departments. We're trying to get the state parks involved. But trying to come up with ways to, if we already are going to help each other, but how can we better help each other, one? And then also, if nothing else, what are your plans? What are your plans? What are your plans? And kind of having a meeting of the minds and sharing our tactical plans to each other to know that these are the amount of people they're going to have on duty. This is their agenda. This is their most important thing that they're going to deal with, and then working through it that way. So we've done a really good job year after year of getting even better at that each time. Last year, Peter had written a letter to one of the schools, I believe it was Jesuit.
A couple of
schools, and I'm going to tell you that letter, I think, did something, because my first year here, everyone was down at the 10th Street access. The next year, they were slightly further north of the beach. Last year, they were midway between Gearhart and 10th Street, really honestly outside of our scope. And I think they did that because they were privy to the idea that we were going to be heavily patrolling that section. So they're kids, right? They're trying to think smart. They're trying to move away. So I think something happened there where at least if either our enforcement or the letter had done something. This year, Sergeant O'Connor with OSP has been working really, really hard and doing a great job because the beaches, most of the beaches there is to patrol, right? And it's their jurisdiction. And they know that we're going to work together to work this out. He's contacted a lot of school resource officers that are in the Clackamas County, I believe Tigard area as well. And number one, asked them, hey, you know, we don't know what kind of funding we have. We don't know what we can give you. We don't even know if this is feasible. But how would you like to come out to the beach and work the 4th of July? That's tough, right? Especially for an officer who really, their schedules are Monday through Friday. That's kind of part of a perk of being a school resource officer. So we don't know if we're going to get that from them. However, we have been hearing some creative ideas, such as, hey, this SRO knows this mom that's in this Facebook group, and it's a parent group for kids at this school. Why don't we put something out on that Facebook page and let the parents know that little Johnny says he's in town for the 4th of July, but really he's in his friend's car and they're at Gearhart on the beach, right? And so just to make them aware of what's going on. Now, again, will that work? I don't know. That may solve some of the, when we say minors, right? We're talking under 18-year-old kids that are still in school. If they decide to come out, that may deter some of that. A lot of our problem, though, are the adults, the 18 to 20 minors, right? They're still not old enough to drink alcohol, consume, and all those things, but they're free to think they're adults and move around the cabin, right? And so that will be another issue with those types. But the good news is that we've gotten some funding from, as a matter of fact, ODOT has provided funding for 2 additional troopers to come from the metro area to work the highway. That way, because they're not local troopers, they don't work this area, but it's a highway, right? And everyone, so they can work the highway out there. We can free up a couple of troopers to maybe provide some services on the beach. We still have the same TAC plan in mind, how we're going to address this issue. I won't give all my sweets away right now, but there's, you know, we're getting creative. We're finding ways to deal with this. I know Chad has played a role in getting some people together with us too, and he's been very helpful. So do y'all have any questions or suggestions?
I think that you need to take more credit than that letter that, I mean, I love that Peter sent out that letter, but I think word is getting out that you are hands-on. And when people want to act like idiots, they don't want to do it in front of a police officer. If they know that you're going to be there, they're going to go someplace else to act, you know, to break the law or do whatever, so that I want to thank you for your attention to this, and I know that you guys are stretched really thin. It's a busy, busy weekend for you, and I do appreciate everything.
Thank you.
If there's something we can do to support you, if there's some kind of leverage you need us to try and apply, please let us know.
Just be kind to us for the weekend, you know, it's a 200, we kind of got this perfect storm, right? It's the 250th. It's on a Saturday.
It's on a Saturday. I was
Yeah,
just gonna ask.
and we know that, okay, so people are gonna get their day off, they're gonna take it on Friday. So Friday's gonna get hammered, we're gonna be busy Friday all the way through Sunday evening. There's gonna be a line of cars leaving here at 9 o'clock at night on Sunday. So we're gonna be tired, yeah, so be patient with us it's because we will be tired.
And I don't want to make the meeting any longer, but we will talk later about the beach cleanup. There's still gonna be a beach cleanup on the day after. We had great success last year, starting it early. A lot of people were like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed that early, but it was kind of cool to get down there and get to the campers while they were still asleep in their car and have a bunch of upset residents not going, hey, wake up, clean up all your stuff. You gotta get out of here. That was great, so.
Any other questions? Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
We should ought to do something about the timing and make it so the chief can, if he has something like this, doesn't have to wait.
Oh,
At the very end.
I can't get rid of him, he enjoys these meetings.
I actually do.
I tried.
Okay. All right. City Administrator Review Decision. I'll take the motion.
I'm not sure of the exact wording.
Oh, we'll keep Chad for another year.
Okay, I will make a motion that we keep Chad for another year.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, or any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, congratulations, Chad, you're kept for another year.
You're not getting rid of us.
Council concerns, Preston?
My biggest concern is getting the information out to the residents and voting public in Gearhart about how important this bond measure is. In fact, I think it's a lot more important than the post office. Tell you the truth. That's my concern.
Okay.
So I think the post office is equally important. I think we need to be multitasking. There are some people that have been interacting with the post office. I've been interacting with the post office. I think it's at the point now where we should have some kind of public conversation with the public about what our very limited options are and get some feedback from them and then get working on it, because summer's coming and I'm hearing from people just like me who do not want to go to CISA.
Okay.
And then also, again, I would like to share my intention to propose that should the bond pass, that we move forward with establishing a citizen advisory committee or oversight committee for the money, somebody who would track, make sure that it's being spent wisely, and just help folks feel a little bit more comfortable about what's happening and that we're being as transparent as we can.
They would report that to us.
Right, he would appoint, just like any other committee, he would appoint, and then they would be like our work committee.
Any concerns? Paulina?
Thompson Creek Falls, I don't know if everybody's aware that during some big rain that we had, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago. Not sure how long ago it was, because it hasn't rained for a long time. The culvert on the Gearhart property broke loose and went down over the falls. And so our culverts are sitting down there in the salmon habitat. Yeah, it's a bummer. And you said it's $500,000 to fix. Is that an insurance claim?
No, an update on that is that, we're working with Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, Oregon Department of Forestry, North Coast Land Conservancy, Government Tribe up there as well.
Watershed kind of.
And Watershed Council, I think there's one more in there. And we're looking at the situation. Nothing is, doing any real harm at the moment. There's no flooding that's happening. We're choosing not to do any work right now until we can get into the summer creek and we're working season and we're gonna have to go get some permits. What this will involve is pulling out some debris that's down below the falls where this all came in. It's kind of buried up, so we're gonna figure out a way to tug that out. And then actually improve the situation up on top of the falls, so this does not happen again. This is a roadway to nowhere, we weren't using it. It was constructed some years ago, well before me. It had 2 culverts in underneath. Well, what happened is apparently some beavers built a big dam, plugged it up, water built up, pressurized, pushed everything down and over. So we're working on the plan. We're getting some quotes. It's not as expensive as what we initially thought. We were hearing $50,000 in repair.
Oh.
Now we're somewhere down to maybe 10. And that's something that we would be able to handle with our finance potentially, and we're gonna look for money elsewhere also. But the next phase is to solidify the plan on how to get this stuff out without doing more damage. And then make sure that we have the correct permitting for in-water work during the correct season. So far not an emergency, but this did create some flooding on people's properties along Lewiston Park Road as well. So we're gonna look at that and see if there's any improvement, but fix it in a way where we won't have to worry about this again.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
If it's a road to nowhere, why do it? I mean, why not just jerk the culverts and everything out and just leave Mother Nature to claim whatever it was?
That's the idea, although we want to fix the bank a little bit so it doesn't create some problems because the bank's pretty, very steep. And we've got the Thompson Falls neighborhood that's in behind. So that's why we went from 50 to maybe $10,000 because all we have to do is clean it up, maybe make the slope a little bit better. But otherwise, we're not going to be replacing the road or the culverts at all. It'll now be a free flowing stream over the falls.
Let the beavers do what they want.
Let the beavers do what they can. And yeah, at that point, it'll be a heck of a beaver dam if they're able to do it, but it'll be more manageable for us, better for the creek, better for the salmon. So it's a win-win.
And a benefit to farmers.
Yeah.
Okay.
My assumption that it was rain.
It was rain
Oh, it was rain.
that built up during that large rainstorm that happened to us. But it built up behind some beaver dams that we didn't know were quite there. And they did a good job of playing that up.
And one more thing on, to feedback on that, just quick.
Okay.
I received something from Cedar letting me know they're inviting us to some meetings in Astoria with the state of Oregon treasurer next week. I will send the information to Chad and he can share it to everybody, but it might be a good time for us to have a conversation with the Secretary of Treasury in Oregon in light of what we just talked about.
Okay, Sharon.
I just have a question. So how are we going to interface with the public regarding the post office? What form is it going to take?
Well, we would have to make a decision, but I would like to give them an opportunity to speak to us, but we'd have to make a decision. And since it's not on the agenda, we'll have to add it to the agenda.
So you might be able to add that into a portion of the work session next month, or it could be sooner, depending on what their decision process is. I think we're still collecting a little bit of information, so there are just a few things in there that I'll work with, closely with Ms. Dana.
All right, any other concerns?
No.
Motion,
Motion to adjourn.
second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned. Thank you.
Recording